What's up, y'all? It's Ty. In this video today, we're going to be talking about the best budget cards in college football 25 and ranking each and every one of them on a tier list. Now, a lot of the core elite players aren't going to be on this tier list, so again, it's hard for me. I still have over 100 cards here, but it was hard for me on who to keep in on this list, who to remove. Obviously, core elites. I personally don't run any of them, and honestly, I think most of these cards are better than the core elites as well. Now, we have over 100 cards, hoping to get through it decently quickly, so hopefully, it doesn't take me a super long time to do. I'm going to be going over talking about each and every one of these cards super quickly. Let's start with Booger McFarland. And for the legends, I'm going to try to go one player at a time. The problem with Booger McFarland is he's just not very fast. Like, he's just so slow. And when you're ranking him as far as a budget card, like, I don't mind Booger McFarland. It's just like, I think he's very mid, very mediocre. Like, the 82 overall is a decent budget defensive tackle. So I'm not going to really hate on the 82 overall, but he still is relatively slow. And again, when we're talking about some of the best budget cards in the entire game, it is kind of tough for me really with Booger McFarland because I just think he's okay. I think there's better budget defensive tackles. Brian Urlacher up next. So I'm going to level a lot of these legends up each and every overall they go up. For Brian Urlacher, I'm higher on him than Booger McFarland, and the 82 overall Brian Urlacher, I'm gonna throw all the way at A tier. Brian Urlacher at 82 overall has 80 speed. It's solid enough, but the problem with Brian Urlacher is he's not the best budget middle linebacker. The best budget middle linebacker is Ray Lewis. Now I'm gonna put the 80s at the same tier. I'm going to put the 81s at the same tier. But when it comes to the 82 overall Ray Lewis, in my opinion, he's one of the best budget cards we have in college football 25. Let me talk about the 82 overall Ray Lewis, who is 20-some thousand coins. At the time I'm recording this right now, Ray Lewis is relatively cheap. He's got 81 speed. 81 speed at the middle linebacker position as a budget card. There's, again, not much negative I can say about Ray Lewis. An absolute stud in college football 25 ultimate team. And again, the other Ray Lewises aren't bad, so I'm not trying to sit here and make him out to be just not very good because he is really, really solid in the game. It is just the fact that, like, any 83, 84 overall Ray Lewises I like, they're just not necessarily budget cards. What I consider a budget card is any card less than 30,000 coins right now in college football ultimate team. Chad Johnson up next. I'm gonna do the same thing I did with Brian Urlacher with Chad Johnson because I actually kind of like him at the wide receiver position. So I'm gonna put the 80 overall at C tier, the 81 at B tier, and the 82 overall Chad Johnson at A tier. I think the card is incredible. I mean, when you get to the 82 overall Chad Johnson, he's got 82 speed, he's got good catching, route running is solid as well. For these legend cards, you're looking at some of your best budget cards in the entire game. Chris Johnson, the 80 overall, has 81 speed. The 81 overall has 82, the 82 overall has 83 speed. He's A tier at minimum. And the 81 overall is still good for Chris Johnson. Honestly, I'm putting the 82 Chris Johnson in S tier. In my opinion, your best running back budget-wise in college football ultimate team. And again, a lot of people might not like, my opinions on these cards, and that is A-okay with me. But name me, if you don't like that, name me a better budget running back than Chris Johnson. You're not going to be able to. Budget-wise, he is S tier. Next up, guys, we've got to talk about Michael Crabtree and how he compares to Chad Johnson. And to be completely honest with you guys, the cards are basically the same. Chad Johnson's going to be a little bit faster. Crabtree's going to be a little bit better at other things. To me, I'm putting them at the same overalls. I don't mind either of them for their respective prices, their respective overalls. This is how I'm going to rank them. Again, just slightly getting better for each and every overall that they go up. Don't necessarily love either, of those cards. Don't think they're S tier, but do think they're both really solid. Marshall Faulk, I don't mind him. But the problem is when Chris Johnson is in the game, it's tough because Marshall Faulk just isn't as good as Chris Johnson. It's just the way it is. Speed kills. The fact of the matter is 81 Chris Johnson is just as good as Marshall Faulk. And again, I don't necessarily love doing that, but 81 overall Chris Johnson isn't quite as good as Marshall Faulk. I'm not going to sit there and act like he is. So I'm going to put the 82 overall Marshall Faulk at A tier. Probably move this 81 up with Chris Johnson. But to be honest, like, if you're comparing the two, know and realize Chris Johnson is better than Marshall Faulk. That's the only thing I want to get across to you guys. Max Crosby, he's okay. He's just a budget guy in college football ultimate team. There's nothing that really stands out to me about Max Crosby. He's a decent budget right end. He's just fine. Pat White at the quarterback position, your best budget quarterback in the entire game. And I know people get mad with Ty. His throwing isn't that great. I get it. He doesn't throw the ball that great. You are right when you say that. But name me another budget quarterback that's as good as Pat White for under 30,000 coins. You're not going to find him. Now, yes, if you want to spend over that, Garrett Green is good. There's some other good guys. But again, we're balling on a budget in this video. And so it's tough for me not to hype up Pat White. Aaron Alexander, our first non-legend card, and here's where things are gonna, start getting. I'm gonna try to get through these cards relatively quick, but it's gonna be tough to do. Here's the thing about Aaron Alexander. When he's playing pass coverage, he's really good. As a run stopper, as a rushing the quarterback type of guy, not great. I'm going to put him at A tier, but again, you got to know what you're getting out of the card. Aaron Turner, he's just not great. He's a usable wide receiver. He's just not great in college football. Ultimate team. Amari Daniels, I guess I throw it A tier. Honestly, I like Marshall Faulk more. I do. I'm gonna put him at B tier. I think that's where Amari Daniels does belong. Andre Jordan Jr., the best budget cornerback in the entire game, S tier. There's no questions asked with Andre Jordan Jr. The card is an absolute stud. Andre Davis up next. Again, I'm going to try to give you guys some of these stats that do come with these cards. The thing with Andre Davis is he's got 81 speed. He's not bad. B tier. I think he is B tier. I don't necessarily love the card, but with that 81 speed, I think he does deserve B tier. Offensive lineman here, D tier. Ashton Craig is a stud offensive lineman at 81 overall. He's going B tier for me. I really do like Ashton Craig. College football ultimate team. Ben Bell, D tier. Brahmer is a decent budget tight end. Now, budget tight ends are hard to come by. Brahmer, I'll go C tier. Don't love everything he's about, but he's a solid guy at that tight end position. Boo Carter, stud free safety, S tier. Again, budget-wise, you're not going to get better at the free safety position than Boo Carter. Brandon Crenshaw up next. Brandon Crenshaw, D. I don't want to get demonetized, so I'm not going to say his last name. He's fine. More of a, I don't know. He's fine. Again, offensive lineman. Budget-wise, tough to come by. I'll go A tier for Crenshaw. I do not like Braylon Shager at all. To be honest with you, I'll go C tier. Again, he's a quarterback that I guess can do something for you. 80 overall, Pat White, to me, better than Shager, though. So that's my opinion on things. Ugwu up next. He's kind of a stud. Gonna go B tier. Really do like him as a speed rusher. Not the best, but definitely a pretty solid speed rusher in college football ultimate team. Pollock. So the question now is, how does Pollock compare to Andre Jordan Jr.? Again, we're not ranking these cards by price. We're ranking them for how good they are for their specific for their specific thing. And the thing about it is, Pollock is probably better than Andre Jordan Jr. So I'm gonna switch them around. But just realize that I like Andre Jordan Jr. Probably going to be cheaper than Pollock as well. I don't know about I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Cade is what I'm going to say. Again, it's weird. Like, these linebackers are all just interesting to me. Like, I don't necessarily love any of them. And I'm not going to spend a ton of time talking about him. Cade has decent speed, 81 speed. He's actually really solid. Like, the more I'm looking at Cade, the more I'm like, dang. He's probably an S tier middle linebacker when you're talking about budget guys. Cameron Fancher, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. He's a scrub. Punter, I'm going to put the punter, for how good he is, you can go B tier. Like, he's fine. Like, if you look at the kick power, kick accuracy, he's actually a fine punter. But the problem lies, like, who is going to spend coins on a punter? If you do that, you're in the wrong. Barrett Carter up next. Pass coverage, right outside linebacker. I'll go C tier. I'm not going to hate on a card that I think, honestly, could help you guys out. It's just the fact of the matter is he doesn't fit what I want out of a right side outside linebacker, really. CJ Taylor, stud free safety. Again, another card at S tier. A lot of these 82 overalls going to be S tier. I like Brahmer over Conyers. Conyers more of a blocking tight end. Brahmer more of a do-it-all thing. He's fine. Crawshaw, again, not nearly as good as the other punter we just got done talking about. I'll go F tier for Crawshaw. Blankupsy, a really good budget wide receiver in college football. It's a team B tier, right in there with 81 Crabtree at that B tier. Dylan Thieneman, a lot of people do use him. He's not a bona fide scrub, but he's not great. D tier for Dylan Thieneman. DJ Giddens, he stinks. I'll be the one to say it. I'm going F tier. There's not anything he does on the field where I'm like, dang, this card is good. He stinks. DJ McKinney, stud at the cornerback position. S tier. Dylan Carpenter did come out the other day, a run stopper. I guess he's fine. I'll throw him. I'll throw him a B tier. I don't hate the card at all. Next up, guys, Elijah Austin. Really solid right end. I'm going to throw him. I don't want to throw him at A tier. I'll throw him at B tier, though. Right in there with Agwu at that B tier. Asante up next. And again, do your own research. Because again, are you struggling stopping the pass? Are you struggling stopping the run? Do you want your outside linebacker to get off to the quarterback? Do you want him to, be more of just an all-around linebacker? These are the questions you have to ask yourself. Asante, really fast, good in pass coverage. To me, I really like Asante. I think he plays really good football. Eugene Wilson, I mean, he's fine. I don't love him. I'm going to go A tier because, again, budget-wise, we don't have a ton of great receivers right now. College football ultimate team. Carmona, right there with Ashton Craig. Really solid for their overalls. Both 81s overalls. Both really, really solid. Martavius French, I still think is a stud middle linebacker. Throw him right in there with Cade. Honestly, I probably prefer French, so I'm going to move Cade down one tier to A tier. Fitzgerald West, I think, is okay. I don't know. Honestly, I don't think Fitzgerald West is okay. I think he's F tier. Greg Rubin, I'm going to go D tier. Michael Harris, again, a lot of these cards are so weird. They're just weird cards. And I like the fact that they're weird, though. Like, it's weird, but I like it. Because Harris is weird because he's got 83 speed. Certain things he does really well, but his power move and finesse move and tackling is really bad. So he's such a weird card. He is good in pass coverage. Might struggle tackling the football. I'm going to go A tier, though, because his speed is fantastic. Jason Henderson stinks. Kevin Haywood, really good budget offensive lineman. I'll go B tier. Stays up next. I don't mind him. Do like him better than Conyers. I'm going to throw him a B tier right in there with Benjamin Brahmer. Next up, guys, we got Gibson. I think for a defensive tackle, this card is a stud budget guy. Isaiah Gibson, I'm going to go B tier with. Jackson Woodard, he's fine. Not a card I love. C tier. John Young, 82 overall left guard. Pretty solid. I'm going to go all the way up to A tier with John Young. Jason Jones, another guy at A overall that I actually do kind of like. I'm going to go C tier with Jason Jones. I'm a fan of him. If you compare his stats to Crosby, I think Jason Jones does what you need him to do. Jeremiah Hunter, better speed than Aaron Turner. I mean, I think he has better speed. He's a little taller, I think. I'm going to go C tier for Jeremiah Hunter. J.J. Jones, 81 speed. Throw him right in there with B tier with all of the 81 overall wide receivers. If you think you're noticing a trend, well, guess what, guys? It probably is because you are noticing a trend, okay? Just to keep things relatively simple. Jordan Brown. A lot of these cards are the same, though. Like him and... I'm not saying they're the same. They have different stats, but they're basically the same. One's pass coverage, one's run coverage. Again, I actually don't mind Jordan Brown, though. College football ultimate team. Cameron Fabu... I don't even know. Cameron is how I'm going to say his name. I actually really like him at the strong safety position. Came out a while ago, but I'm still a really big fan. I'm going to throw him all the way at S tier. Kobe Baines, look at his stats, guys. He's actually pretty solid for a right guard. I'm going to throw him at C tier. Kobe King, not bad, but again, not great. At this stage, I'm going to go D tier. Kylan Goodery up next. I mean, again, it's a weird thing. You got to know what you want out of your middle linebackers because they're all so weird. Some play pass coverage, some are run stoppers. And honestly, the way college football ultimate team has been doing things recently, really recently, is they've been making them basically one or another. So like for this card here, good speed. But again, it's like his coverage stinks. He's got 53 man coverage. So just realize what you're getting out of the card. I'll throw him at D tier. But again, I need a guy that can play a little bit more coverage than that. Lake McCree for an 82 overall isn't good, but he still is an 82 overall. I'll throw him at that B tier. You guys can see my tiers are getting kind of crazy. Why? Because we got so many cards. But we're getting down to it. Lawrence, one of my favorite guys on this budget list. And what I would recommend you guys doing is at the end of this, I'll take some time and just show S tier. S tier is the tier I'd recommend you guys picking up first and foremost. Then if there is like any 81s like Asante at A tier, that would be the next best option for you guys. Buford, he's fine. D tier. I don't really recommend him though. Spend up on some of these corners instead because, I mean, if you run Buford, you'll probably get cooked. Cunningham, he's fine. I mean, a right tackle, 81 overall. I'll throw him at B tier. I don't mind him at all. Mason Graham's actually a stud at 81 overall. I'm going to throw him at B tier. I think this card is a card that when you play against, he doesn't play like an 81 overall at all. Maverick up next. I like him at the middle linebacker position. Not quite elite, not quite like the French level, but is a card that for an 81 overall can compete at a really high level. Maxwell Harrison, again, another card at the cornerback position that I would spend up on. I don't think he's quite to, DJ McKinney level, so I'm going to put him at A tier. But I really do like Maxwell Harrison in college football. It's team. McCord kind of stinks. I'll throw him at D tier. Not a card I recommend. Merriweather kind of stinks. Throwing him at D tier. Not a card I recommend. You know what? No, I'm moving these cards down. If you need a quarterback or running back, do not pick these guys up. There are so many better options for you guys. Michael Ford Jr. right in there with Kobe Baines. Both these cards, though they're both Kansas, both these cards are solid enough to play for you guys. I know a lot of guys are like, really, Ty? Yes, those guys can absolutely compete. Miller Moss, he stinks too. Mosley, let's go. We finally got a good wide receiver that I can talk about for you guys. Mosley, all the way up to S tier. When you're talking about wide receivers, when you're talking about cornerbacks, those are not positions in which I'm gonna recommend you guys saving your coins. Those are positions to spend, and a guy like Mosley is really, really good for what you guys need at that wide receiver position. Next up, guys, Brendan Mott, another card that I actually don't mind. I'm gonna go B tier. A solid right end, not necessarily perfect. Mukba up next. I mean, he is 82 overall. I've used the card before. He's just, to me, not quite that S tier level. He's fine, but a guy like CJ Taylor is definitely going to be better than him. Nick Martin, a stud at the middle linebacker position. There's not many better users budget-wise than Nick Martin. Easy addition into S tier. I personally like him more than Martavius French. This card stinks. I'm going to put this card all the way down at C tier. He's got 77 speed as a strong safety. There's not many cards I dislike more at the budget tier than Isaiah Nwaka. He's got such horrible speed. It's hard to be as bad as him. Cornerback, 80 overall, Jordan Olakun. I mean, he's fine. C tier, though, is where I'm going to go. Peterson up next. I mean, he's actually solid. Again, it's just one of these things is a lot of it is preference. Again, are you struggling stopping the runs? You need a guy to plug up lanes on the interior. Just really depends. I probably like Isaiah Gibson more, though. So that's the tough part. I am going to drop him down to C tier just because I think that's where he belongs. Pritchett, for a budget 80 overall wide receiver, is actually decent. I'm going to throw him at C tier. I actually do like the card quite a bit. Next up, guys, Benato Brown. I don't know, man. I honestly have not used this card, but he looks pretty solid. I'm going to go A tier with him again. Offensive lineman, wouldn't necessarily recommend spending up on them as far as your first or second priority. But again, when you do get a better and better team, might be worth upgrading those positions. RJ Perry up next. It's just tough because a lot of these offensive linemen, again, it's tough. For me, I like balance guys, but some people that throw the ball a ton are going to like guys that can, pass protect more than run block. Just get guys that fit your scheme. Rod Moore is a stud at the free safety position, has that good speed. I'm throwing him S tier, right in there with some of these other free safeties, with Boo Carter, with CJ Taylor. Any of those guys are really good guys to pick up. Rylan Goody up next. This card stinks. An 82 overall wide receiver, which I don't know how he got that overall. He stinks. Samu is incredible. This card is an 81 overall defensive tackle that I'm a big time fan of. I'm throwing him all the way up to B tier. Valentine Sen, he kind of stinks. I'm going to go D tier. I just don't see it with the card. Tay Felton up next. I actually like him. 81 speed. Throw him right in there with all of the 81 overall wide receivers. Mason Taylor, look, he's actually relatively cheap and he's fine. He's a fine tight end. He's not necessarily game-breaking good, but him, Lake McCree, they're both fine. Trey Moore, not necessarily my favorite strong safety. Not horrible. I'll go D tier with him. Train him. You stink. An 81 overall running back that stinks. Marshall Faulk runs circles around Train him in college football ultimate team. Trey Harris up next. Only 80 speed. I'd throw him at C tier, but not one of my favorite budget wide receivers in the game. Tatufu is incredible. He's incredible. He's absolutely incredible. Definitely a card if you're balling on a budget that I recommend getting at that left guard position. An absolute stud. Willow Stein, this card kind of stinks. Ben Rather, a stud center. And you don't hear me say that too much, but Ben Rather is a stud. One of the only offensive linemen that I'm going to put at S tier. Again, I'm not going to put too many at S tier. Ben Rather is going to be one of them. And last but certainly not least, Keith Brown. This card can play at the highest level. This might be the best budget card still to this day in the entire game. Maybe CJ, but I'm telling you, Keith Brown is an absolute stud. Here's the deal. When it comes down to this budget list, I just ranked all of these cards in 15, 20 minutes? I don't know how long this video has been. You can make a squad like this. Pat White, Chris Johnson, Yulkeith Brown Mosley. Tight end position, it's pretty weak right now. Let's just say Lake McCree. Offensive line, you run Rather, you run Crenshaw, you run Tatufu and John Young, maybe pick up some others. You can build a whole squad basically using my S tier and A tier. And that's what I'd recommend. For like what? 300,000 coins, you can build your entire squad. For 200,000 coins at the skill positions, guys, you can build your entire squads. This video is to help you guys out if you are balling on a budget, if you really need help. Now, hopefully it can help you guys out. Hopefully you guys find this video useful and informational. That's my main goal, to hopefully help you guys out and make it so you guys feel like you can compete without spending a bunch of money. That's gonna wrap it up for my video today, guys. Let me know your thoughts on this. Who was I too high on, too low on? Drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and as always, man, I love you guys. Have a blessed day.